And that is Debbie Bourne, who is a Think and Do activator at Think and Do Camden, which is a really vibrant pop-up community space. Um, for the sake of getting her started, I won't say much more. And yeah, take it away, Debbie.
Okay, hi everyone. Sorry, no slides or anything for me because we're in the middle of a big pop-up at the moment. But I'm Debbie from Transition Kentish Town. Now, 2 years ago, Camden Council called a citizens' assembly, and out of that, recommendations came. One of them was mobilise community. And suddenly, 6 weeks later, we were given a shop in the high street in Kentish Town, which for 6 weeks we turned into this mad, crazy, fun-filled sort of climate action shop, all kinds of workshops and events. I don't know if some of you might have come down. And then last year during COVID, we went online. Oh, it was called Think and Do. Sorry, I forgot to say. The council came up with this name, Think and Do, which we thought was a terrible name. But in fact, it's a really good name because it does what the job says. It's very simple. People can connect with it. It's lovely branding. I think, Caitlin, you've got some pictures you can show in a minute. But anyway, last year we went online. And the council were big, they put it in their climate plan, Think and Do, we're going to roll out across the borough, and all kinds of promises, and not much, came through. So we thought to ourselves, and we're all a group of volunteers, and basically Think and Do became a collective of all the climate action, social action groups in the borough, Friends of the Earth, we all came together and carried on with this Think and Do branding. And then at the beginning of this year, we started to think, well, what next? We can't all get shops in the high streets across the borough, around the country. This is a luxury. And also very much it was starting to become apparent to us, this whole climate action area. It was too much reaction. It was, too middle class, white climate activists. We wanted to do something about it. So we thought, what next? And we had the idea, what if we could transform an underloved tenants' resident halls on one of our housing estates into a buzzing, vibrant hub of community? So we spoke to the council, and we chose one of the most rundown tenant resident halls in a really tough area in Camden called Town. It's a tough but beautiful area. We worked really hard the last few months on engaging residents. We've been door knocking. We've had this an imposter syndrome, like, who are you? What are you doing here? You don't live here. What is this climate action business? But we persevered. We got a little bit of funding from Camden Council, and last week we opened, and we had this, it was a disgusting hall. It smelt of rat piss, excuse my language. And within a day, we transformed it into this hub. And we opened our doors last Wednesday. We had about 30 events last week. And Caitlin, I don't know if you can show some pictures. We've had the most fantastic week. We basically linked up with Refugee Community Kitchen, who are our partners. They provided food because we thought, what if we could stamp out food waste in Camden? So we've had shared meals. Over the last week, we have welcomed 600 people into our pop-up. Over 50% have been Bengali, probably more like 60 or 70%. We've shared over 200 surplus meals. On Saturday, we had a clothes swap. We had 140 clothes swapped, many of them saris, and we've had the most fantastic time. We're open again this Wednesday for another 4 days. Caitlin, have you got the slides to show?
I'm
No.
just terrified to share my screen in case I muck up your talk, but
Oh, don't worry, I'm just making up mistakes as I go along. But the point I want to make to you, and I wrote to Rob Hopkins today, is to say that, you know, when we're choosing places to have climate action, the other thing I want to say about Think and Do is what became apparent to us earlier this year is we're not just climate and eco action, it's climate and social action. And we changed our logo. Many people are not in the position of being able to accept that climate change is a thing that they can afford to do anything about, particularly with a lot of our engagement work around Town. We haven't been able to frame the narrative on climate. And I don't know who, someone from Kingston wrote thing. I know you're starting a climate action cafe there. My friends Lisa and Paul are involved. And I would urge you, do not use the word climate in the title. It doesn't talk to enough people. It's really important we cross over. And what I think we've achieved so brilliantly in this pop-up we're working on currently, it's not white. It's everyone. We're all hanging together. And the best compliment we had during our first week last week was people said, this is such an integrated space. Everyone from all different communities were coming together. And after all my years, of doing transition work, I really think we've cracked it now. And the way to do it is to go out to the community. It's not to have, like many of you here, we've had our film nights, we've had all this, we've had all the usual things we've all been doing for years. I'm telling you, go out to the community. And I actually wrote to Rob, and I spoke to Rich Caudry at Transition, wherever he is, Tooting today, about the next bounce forward funding. And I said, put a project together where you give people funding around the country for them to turn tenants' resident halls in housing estates into vibrant hubs of community. It really works. We're really looking forward to going back on Wednesday. My voice is going, it's been totally exhausting, but just so fantastic. We're all learning, and I think a new sustainability group is going to be formed in Somerstown now. And there's no such thing as white, brown, black. There just really isn't in this world I'm in now. And it's so very, very lovely. But the main lesson I've learned in the last week is you cannot frame it through the lens of climate. We went door knocking. One guy, Tony, said to me, I don't get out the house much, I'm on crutches. And we've been framing it as like, hey, let's all get together and start sharing things more. Let's create a sharing community. We don't even use the word circular economy. It's a middle class word, it's, hey, what can we all do to come together, to have some fun together as a community and share more? And he went, well, you know what, I've got a bit of furniture, I could swap that maybe. He said, also, to be honest, I'm a bit lonely, I'd love to start a book group. So I said, well, hey, Tony, we've got a young student, should we build a bookshelf? Should we get it launched in the tenants hall next week? And sure enough, the first day, then the other thing, I said to him, we're coming from a climate action point of view. And he said to me, if you'd framed it like that, I wouldn't have been interested. We carried on talking. Sure enough, when we opened last Wednesday, he was the first person through the door. He stayed there for 5 hours. And what I actually loved, there was another woman his age who seemed to be a bit lonely there. 5 hours later, they're still talking. It was like a transition Tinder moment. And then the Bengali ladies started to come in slowly, carefully at first, hesitantly. Day 2, they came back. Day 3, they came back. They all bought their saris on Saturday. We all shared food. This really works, doing transition kind of projects in our housing estates. So, Think and Do, it's really going well. We're starting to work with businesses now. We're starting to get approached by different companies. We set up as a CIC, independent from the council, a couple of months ago. We've now got a little bit of funding, but like all the speakers here tonight, it's no big deal. It's a few grand here, a few grand there. We're managing to pay Ellie from Friends of the Earth. She's in her early 20s. She does 2 days of work a week work, and it's just going absolutely brilliant. And I really feel we found a really good way here to reach beyond the usual suspects. And this really important idea of creating climate pop-ups, whatever you want to call them, creating community hubs in meanwhile spaces. I would recommend you all go find a local housing estate to where you live, find a grotty old hall and take it over for a week and just start talking.
Debbie, that what you said about language, I think it probably hit a lot of us hard because we know
Because
that.
also, I think when I came in, Amy, were you talking about, you think there's a lack of imagination and storytelling about climate? I find it's a very tricky one, that, because a lot of people, particularly the people we've been talking to recently, we so wanted to get beyond the usual suspects. You can't, you've got to be really careful the language you use and the stories you tell. A lot of people can't afford to worry about this kind of thing. And if as a movement we're going to grow, we've got to be able to start reaching beyond the usual suspects. And that's why that instead of storytelling, we're all eating together. It's hilarious. Sharing food is just exactly what the original transition ethos was. Bring people together, have fun, share food, share walking kids, prams around. We've been handing out some veg box bags. We're giving a few things away for free. We're bringing in various partners. This week there's a local couple of girls that set up an electric mill float. They put all their money into it. They're called Fairwell, spelled FAIR-well, and they go around sell dry goods on their milk truck. So we're going to give out some vouchers to residents. So we've been starting, for example, to talk to these Bengali ladies, and instead of talking about climate, we share a meal, then we talk to them about food waste. We talk to them about sharing. So it's not that it's a lack of imagination, it's just finding the areas that we can all commonly agree we can all do something about.
It sounds like it's also about sort of really micro targeting your message. Because the problem can be figuring out what what words to use or what reasoning behind what you're trying to do, um, to get people to take it on board, to be interested in it. I think the default position is to think, well, if it's not about fixing climate, then what is it about? How do you
It's
quantify
about
that?
connecting as a community. That
Yeah.
was always the original.
Mm.
That's what we've been doing outside this grotty hall. We've got an apple press. We had something out. We just made it very, very inviting, welcoming. It's slightly messy, handwritten notes. It's not too prescriptive. I don't know if anyone, you can see the pictures, and people are coming in the troves. Loads of people just coming in. There's also free tea, and cake if anyone can make it. And it's really, really working. I mean, if anyone's around, and lives in London, we're there in Somerstown till Saturday. Rich Caudry from Transition Movement came in. I can see you there, Joe. And he just thought it was amazing. It's really good, grubby, messy fun, but we're not mentioning the word climate.
Okay.
It's not
Well,
to say, I mean, obviously climate is everything, but
yeah.
it's just different framing.